The fire was small, but it was enough. It burned quietly on a ring of smooth stones near the edge of the lake, its orange light moving gently across the ground like a slow breath. Each flame leaned and straightened again, responding to a breeze so light it barely disturbed the surface of the water. The lake rested in complete stillness, dark and patient, reflecting the dim stars above as if it had all the time in the world. He sat close to the fire, wrapped in a thick, familiar blanket that smelled faintly of smoke and clean air. The warmth reached his hands first, then slowly climbed his arms, settling into his chest. It was the kind of warmth that did not rush, that did not demand attention. It simply arrived and stayed. Behind him, the forest stood quietly. Tall trees surrounded the clearing, their branches high and unmoving, their leaves whispering only when they felt like it. There were no sharp sounds, no sudden movements, only the soft crackle of wood, the distant call of a night bird, and the almost inaudible lap of water against the shore. He had come here as the evening faded, walking the narrow path he already knew by heart. By the time the sky had turned deep blue and the first stars appeared, the fire had already been burning for a while. He had taken his time arranging it, choosing dry wood, stacking it carefully, lighting it without hurry. There had been no reason to rush. There never was. Here, the lake stretched out before him, wide and calm. Somewhere near the far shore, a thin mist had begun to form, hovering just above the water like a quiet thought not yet spoken. It moved slowly, drifting left and right, reshaping itself without effort. He watched it for a long time, feeling his own thoughts soften as he did, his breathing slowed naturally, matching the rhythm of the place. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The cool night air felt clean and gentle, carrying the scent of pine, damp earth, and smoke. Each breath felt full but easy, as if his body knew exactly how much it needed and no more. He adjusted his position slightly, settling deeper into the ground beneath him. The earth was firm and steady, supporting his weight without complaint. Small stones pressed against the fabric beneath him, grounding him in a way that felt comforting rather than distracting. He did not try to change it. He simply noticed it, then let it fade into the background. The fire shifted as a piece of wood settled, sending a brief shower of sparks upward. They rose, glowing for a moment, then disappeared into the darkness. He followed them with his eyes until they were gone, feeling no need to hold on to them. Everything here came and went gently, the lake remained unchanged. Its surface was smooth, unbroken, holding reflections of the sky, the firelight, and the dark shapes of trees along the shore. It did not demand attention. It invited it. As he sat there, time began to loosen its grip. Minutes stretched without becoming heavy. Thoughts arrived less frequently now, and when they did, they passed through quietly, like clouds crossing a wide, open sky. There was nothing he needed to solve, nothing he needed to remember. The night asked nothing of him. He rested his hands on his knees and leaned back slightly, letting the warmth of the fire and the coolness of the air balance each other. Somewhere deep inside, a familiar sense of ease began to grow. The kind that came only in places like this, places untouched by urgency. Where the world felt complete exactly as it was, the fire continued to burn, the lake continued to rest, and he continued to sit, calm and unhurried, as the night slowly wrapped itself around the shore. The night had fully settled now. Darkness did not arrive all at once. It had come in layers, gently, like a blanket being placed with care. The sky above the lake had deepened into a soft black blue, scattered with quiet stars that seemed to hold their light rather than shine it. The moon remained hidden, content to let the night stay dim and peaceful. He noticed how the sounds around him had changed. During the day, the forest spoke more often, but now it chose its moments carefully. A distant rustle here. A single chirp there. Each sound appeared, lingered briefly, and then faded back into silence. Nothing competed. Nothing interrupted. The fire had settled into a steady rhythm. Flames rose and fell without drama, and the wood glowed warmly beneath a thin layer of ash. The heat reached him evenly now, wrapping his legs and hands in a calm, predictable comfort. He held his palms toward it, feeling the warmth sink slowly into his skin, into his muscles, into places that had carried quiet tension without him realizing it. Across the lake, the mist had thickened slightly. It moved like a slow breath, expanding and contracting, never rushing. The water beneath it remained unseen but deeply present, holding the weight of the night without effort. He found comfort in knowing it was there, wide and steady, even when he could not see its surface clearly. He shifted his gaze upward, following the tall line of the trees until they met the sky. Their tops blended into the darkness, their shapes softened by shadow. They stood like silent guardians, unchanged by the passing hours. He had always liked that about them, the way they existed without explanation. His shoulders dropped a little as he exhaled. The day he had left behind felt distant now, as if it belonged to someone else. Whatever thoughts had once filled his mind had loosened and thinned, drifting away like the mist on the lake. He did not try to follow them. He let them go. The ground beneath him held a gentle chill, balanced by the fire's warmth. The contrast felt grounding, real, and steady. He noticed the rise and fall of his chest, the weight of the blanket resting against his back, the soft pull of gravity keeping him exactly where he needed to be. Time passed quietly. He reached for a nearby piece of wood and placed it carefully onto the fire. It caught slowly, with a soft crackle, sending a deeper glow across the stones. The light reflected faintly on the lake's edge, creating a small, trembling line that danced and then stilled. He watched it until it became part of the darkness again. The air felt heavier now, carrying the promise of deeper rest. Each breath seemed to travel a little farther inward, settling more completely before leaving. His eyelids grew heavier, not with exhaustion, but with comfort. The kind that invited rest without forcing it. Somewhere nearby, a gentle movement stirred the grass. He did not turn to look. He trusted the forest to move as it needed to. Nothing here felt threatening. Everything belonged. The night wrapped itself more closely around the clearing, softening edges, quieting spaces between sounds. The fire remained a small, steady heart of warmth in the center of it all, and as he continued to sit by the lake, listening, breathing, and resting, the world felt smaller in the best possible way, reduced to firelight, water, and the slow, patient rhythm of the night. The fire had grown quieter, its flames no longer reached upward with energy, but folded inward, glowing softly as the wood settled into embers. The light it gave off was deeper now, steadier, spreading across the ground in warm, rounded shapes. Shadows stretched and rested, no longer shifting as often. He noticed how comfortable his body felt in this stillness. Muscles that had once held themselves tight had begun to loosen, releasing effort little by little. His legs rested heavily against the earth, supported without resistance. His back leaned naturally, no longer searching for a better position. The lake seemed even calmer than before. Its surface was now almost invisible, blending seamlessly into the night. Only the faintest reflection of stars hinted at where water ended and sky began. The mist moved slowly across it, softening the distance between near and far. His breathing grew deeper without intention. Each inhale arrived quietly, cool and smooth. Each exhale left just as gently, warm and unhurried. There was no need to control it. His body remembered how to rest. A memory surfaced briefly, something simple and unimportant. It drifted in like a leaf on water, then drifted out again, leaving no ripple behind. He did not try to hold it. He had learned that here, nothing needed to stay. The night air wrapped around him with quiet patience. It touched his face, his hands, the edges of the blanket. The temperature felt perfect, balanced between cool and warm, alert and calm. He felt fully present without effort. The forest stood in deep agreement with the night. Trees remained tall and steady, their roots anchored far below, their branches resting above. Somewhere deep within the woods, a low sound echoed briefly and then dissolved into silence. It felt less like a call and more like a reminder that life continued gently, even in rest. He lowered his gaze back to the fire, watching the embers glow and dim in slow cycles. Each pulse of light felt like a heartbeat, steady, reassuring, slow. He found himself matching it without thinking. His own rhythm softening to meet it. The ground beneath him felt firm and supportive. He noticed how little effort it took to remain there. Gravity did its work quietly, holding him in place. There was comfort in that simplicity. The edges of the world seemed to blur slightly now. Sound softened. Distances felt less defined. The clearing, the lake, the trees, all of it felt connected, part of the same calm breath. He felt included, not separate. His eyelids rested lower, hovering in that gentle space between open and closed. The firelight reached them faintly, painting warm patterns behind his eyes. He did not resist it. There was nothing he needed to see anymore. The lake remained still, the fire remained warm, and he remained exactly where he was meant to be, held by the quiet, guided by the slow pull of stillness. The night felt closer now, not heavier, not darker, just nearer, as if it had leaned in slightly, listening. The air carried a deeper quiet, and even the smallest sounds seemed cushioned by the darkness around them. The world felt wrapped, contained, safe. He noticed how his body responded to this closeness. His shoulders sank a little more, releasing the last traces of effort they had been holding on to. His jaw softened. The muscles around his eyes relaxed, smoothing out without instruction. It felt natural, almost automatic. The fire was mostly embers now, glowing red and orange beneath a thin veil of ash. Occasionally, a small flame appeared, flickered briefly, and then returned to rest. The warmth remained constant, gentle and dependable. It reached his legs, his hands, and the center of his chest, where it settled like a quiet reassurance. The lake lay silent before him. The mist had spread wider, hovering low and slow, blurring the shoreline into something softer and less defined. Water and air seemed to meet without a clear boundary, becoming part of the same calm space. His breathing moved in long, smooth waves. Each inhale filled him without effort. Each exhale carried weight away, leaving him lighter. With every breath out, it felt as though he was sinking just a little deeper into the ground beneath him. Time no longer felt measurable. Moments did not stack or count themselves. They simply passed, one after another, without asking to be noticed. The idea of hours or minutes felt distant, unimportant. The forest remained watchful but relaxed. Branches rested where they were. Leaves stayed still unless the air touched them gently. Somewhere far away, a single sound echoed and then faded, as if even the forest was careful not to disturb the calm. He adjusted the blanket slightly, pulling it closer around his shoulders. The fabric moved softly, making almost no sound. Wrapped in its weight, he felt held, protected from the coolness of the night. The warmth and the darkness worked together, creating a space that asked nothing from him. His thoughts slowed to a quiet drift. Images appeared faintly and then dissolved before fully forming. There was no story, no worry, no planning, only a soft awareness that gradually thinned, like mist lifting from the water. The fire's glow pulsed slowly, lighting the ground in gentle rhythms. He watched without focus, letting his vision blur around the edges. The light no longer drew his attention, it simply existed, steady and kind. The lake, the fire, the trees, and the night all seemed to breathe together now. One slow inhale. One long, easy exhale. He felt himself moving with them, carried rather than leading. His body grew heavier, not with fatigue, but with comfort. Each part of him settled into its place, supported and at ease. There was nothing left to hold up, nothing left to keep watch, and in that quiet, balanced moment, between warmth and cool, light and dark, wakefulness and rest, his awareness softened, drifting gently toward sleep. The fire barely moved now. What remained was a deep, steady glow, quiet and reassuring, like a presence that did not need to speak. The embers rested in place, holding warmth without flame. Their light reached only a short distance, leaving the rest of the clearing wrapped in shadow. He felt the weight of his body fully supported by the ground beneath him. There was no tension left to release. His arms rested easily, his hands warm and still. His legs felt heavy in a comfortable way, as if they belonged exactly where they were. The lake was almost entirely hidden by darkness and mist. It no longer needed to be seen to be felt. Its presence was wide and calm, a steady certainty beyond the edge of the firelight. The water seemed to hold the night gently, without movement or sound. His breathing slowed further, stretching out between each rise and fall. Each inhale felt soft and distant. Each exhale carried him deeper into rest, like a slow wave pulling gently back toward shore. Thoughts arrived less often now. When they did, they were incomplete, unfinished. A color. A sound. A vague sense of warmth. They passed without forming meaning, without asking to be understood. The forest faded into a quiet backdrop. Individual trees no longer stood apart. The space beyond the firelight felt smooth and uninterrupted, as if the night itself had closed its eyes. His eyelids rested fully now, heavy and relaxed. The fire's glow appeared faintly behind them, diffused and gentle. There was no need to open his eyes. Nothing waited for him there, the air felt softer with every breath. Coolness touched his skin lightly, balanced by warmth beneath the blanket. The contrast no longer registered clearly, it blended into a single, even comfort. Time slipped further away. The sense of before and after dissolved. There was only this moment, stretched and quiet, holding him without effort. The embers pulsed slowly, dimming and brightening in a rhythm too subtle to follow. He no longer tried. His body had already matched it, sinking into its own natural pace. The lake remained still, the fire remained warm, the night remained kind, and somewhere between the glow of the embers and the quiet of the water, his awareness drifted, unanchored and light, resting on the gentle edge of sleep. The night held everything in place, the fire had become a quiet center of warmth, barely glowing, its presence felt more than seen. The embers rested without movement, offering a steady comfort that did not change or fade. There was no need to watch it anymore. It was simply there. His body felt distant now, as if awareness had stepped back slightly, allowing everything to rest on its own. The weight of the blanket, the firmness of the ground, the gentle touch of air against his skin, all of it blended into a single, continuous sensation. The lake existed beyond sight, beyond thought. It felt wide and deep, calm in a way that reached inward. Even without looking. He sensed its stillness, its patience. It held the night the way the night held him, breathing continued on its own. Long pauses stretched comfortably between each breath, as if the space between them mattered just as much as the breath itself. Nothing felt rushed. Nothing felt missing, sounds became softer, less distinct. The forest no longer announced itself. Any movement that occurred did so gently, without shape or urgency. Silence felt full rather than empty, his thoughts no longer formed complete ideas. They appeared as soft impressions, warmth, darkness, ease, and then faded before settling. There was no effort in letting them go. They simply dissolved. The edges of his awareness blurred. Where his body ended and the night began felt less clear. The warmth from the embers and the coolness of the air merged into a single, balanced calm. Time no longer passed in a way he could notice. It stretched and thinned, becoming something smooth and quiet. There was no sense of waiting. Only resting. The lake, the forest, and the fire felt less like separate things and more like parts of the same gentle space. He felt included in that space, carried by it, without needing to move. His breathing slowed further, deep and effortless. Each exhale felt like a letting go, not of anything specific, but of the need to be aware at all. The night remained steady, the warmth remained constant, and his awareness drifted softly, sinking just beneath the surface of waking, floating in a calm that asked for nothing more. Everything felt distant and close at the same time. The fire was no longer something to be seen, only something to be felt, a gentle warmth resting somewhere nearby, steady and reliable. It did not change. It did not ask for attention. It simply remained. His body rested deeply now, heavy and still. The ground beneath him felt soft despite its firmness, as if it had shaped itself to hold him more comfortably. There was no need to shift or adjust. Everything had already settled. The lake existed as a calm presence beyond the edge of thought. It felt wide and smooth, holding the night in silence. There were no ripples, no movement to follow. Just a deep, even stillness that spread outward and inward at the same time. Breathing continued quietly. In and out, with long, gentle pauses in between. Each breath felt smaller, lighter, as if it required less and less effort to exist. The space between breaths felt safe and complete. Thoughts no longer arrived as thoughts. They appeared as faint impressions, soft darkness, distant warmth, a sense of being held. They drifted through without shape or meaning, dissolving before they could be noticed for long. The forest faded further into the background. Trees, branches, leaves, all blended into a single, quiet presence. Nothing moved unless it needed to, and even then, it did so without sound. Time felt smooth now. There was no before. No after. Only a continuous, unbroken moment stretching gently in every direction. Nothing marked its passing. His awareness softened further, loosening its edges. The feeling of having a body, of sitting near a fire, of being by a lake, all of it grew faint, like a memory already turning into a dream. The night felt kind and patient. It did not pull or push. It simply allowed rest to happen. The warmth remained, the stillness remained, and within that quiet space, he rested deeply, floating in a calm that required nothing at all. The night no longer felt like something around him, it felt like something within him. The warmth of the fire existed as a distant comfort, like the memory of sunlight felt through closed eyes. It did not flicker or shift. It simply stayed, quiet and constant, somewhere beyond the need to locate it. His body rested so deeply that it barely registered as form. Weight remained, but shape did not. Arms, legs, breath, all blended into a single sense of being supported. Nothing needed adjustment. Nothing needed attention. The lake had become a feeling rather than a place. Wide. Smooth. Still. It held the darkness gently, and that darkness felt calm rather than empty. There was no edge to it, no boundary to notice. Breathing happened softly, almost silently. Each inhale appeared without effort. Each exhale faded away without sound. The pauses between them stretched longer now, comfortable and complete, as if breath itself were resting. Images drifted through gently. Not scenes, not stories, just soft impressions. A warm glow. A dark surface. A sense of floating. They appeared and disappeared without sequence, without meaning. The forest had dissolved into quiet presence. No individual sounds remained. Silence felt full, layered, alive in a way that required no movement. Time no longer existed as a concept. There was no sense of how long he had been there, or how long he might remain. The moment held itself, endlessly calm. Awareness thinned further, becoming light and spacious. The feeling of him softened, stretching out and blending with the night. There was no effort in this. No letting go. It simply happened. The warmth, the stillness, the darkness, all of it moved together in a slow, gentle rhythm. Like a tide that did not pull, only carried, and somewhere within that quiet drift, where thought no longer reached and memory no longer formed, the first gentle shapes of dreams began to appear, soft, unhurried, and kind. There was almost nothing left to notice. Warmth existed without source. Darkness existed without shape. Stillness existed without effort. Everything that remained felt soft, distant, and complete. The sense of a body had faded into a gentle weight, supported and unmoving. There were no edges, no tension, no need to shift. Rest held everything in place. Breathing continued somewhere far away, slow and shallow, like a tide moving under a calm surface. The space between breaths felt wide and peaceful, as if nothing could interrupt it. The lake was no longer separate from the night. Water and air, darkness and depth blended into one quiet presence. There were no reflections now. No surfaces to observe. Only calm, stretching outward, thought no longer formed. There were no questions, no memories, no direction. Only a soft awareness, thinning even as it rested. Time dissolved completely. There was no sense of passing, no sequence, no moment following another. Everything existed at once, smooth and still. The warmth remained gentle and constant. The darkness remained kind and protective. The quiet felt deep enough to hold everything without effort. Nothing needed to happen, nothing needed to change, nothing needed to be remembered, and within that deep quiet, where even awareness began to rest, sleep settled fully and peacefully. Like a calm lake beneath a silent sky. There was no transition to notice. Sleep did not arrive suddenly, nor did it announce itself. It simply became the state that remained when everything else had softened and faded. Awareness rested without shape, without direction, without need. The warmth that had once come from the fire now felt internal, steady and even. It did not move or change. It simply existed, like a quiet reassurance carried into rest. The lake was no longer something apart. Its stillness had become part of the calm that held everything. Deep, silent, and unmoving, it rested beneath the night without disturbance. Breathing continued somewhere beyond attention, slow and natural. Each breath completed itself fully. Without effort, without thought. The pauses between them felt endless and safe. There were no images now. No sounds. No sensations that asked to be noticed. The forest, the shore, the fire, and the sky had all blended into a single, peaceful quiet. Time had no meaning here. There was no before, no after. Only rest, unfolding gently and completely. The night held everything with patience. Nothing pressed in. Nothing pulled away. Sleep remained deep, smooth, and unbroken, and in that quiet, where the world had narrowed into comfort and calm, rest continued, steady and kind, until morning would one day return, softly and without urgency.